Now, I could give you just a boring review of a movie you already know the plot to, or we could rag on why the makeup artist and the drag and the queer and the blah, 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 blah is getting canceled and backlash on the internet. I am Mecca. Subscribe or else. And the Little Mermaid makeup designer responds to offensive Ursula criticisms. Why I can't do as a good a job as a queer artist. So they're mad they didn't get a gay to do the makeup, despite the fact that this was based on what? Divine, the drag queen from the John Waters movies. The makeup designer, Peter Smith King, has responded to criticism of the revamped Ursula look that Melissa McCarthy brings to life in her new live-action remake, specifically contending against the belief that the queer artist should have landed the job. Rob Minkoff, the character animator of the original 1980 mime film, pulled the reference from the late drag performer Divine for Ursula when speaking with The Time. Minkoff said Divine seemed like such a great larger-than-life character, and it just seemed like a funny, quirky idea to take Ursula and treat her more like a drag queen. Yeah, back then, and they literally did the same thing now, with the same makeup and same everything. This is inherently the problem with the live-action remakes, is that they're just copy and pasting these things without any of the intent, without any of the understanding, without any of the charm or idea of why they did it then. Like, they just copy and paste. Like I said in my last video on this, they copy and pasted the fish looking, or the eels looking at each other, because they probably did it in the original, even though it made sense for them to do it in the original, because I'm gonna bet they had the little eyes in the front of their head somewhere to make them look more cartoony and, like, you know, expressive little things, instead of just like dead freaking eels, dead electric eels with the eyes on the side. So then when they make them react, and they don't pay attention. This is why I think this was written and directed by ChatGPT. They aren't even having a director who pays enough attention to notice those little details. I was like, well, it's in the original. But it's in the original in a place where you're drawing these eyes in the front of their heads and I don't even like the original, and I'm defending the original. Like seriously, I don't even like the original, but at least it made sense. At least it made sense cinematically, right? At least it was what it was. At least it made sense to have the reactions that it had at the time, because of how they thought about these things. People don't think anymore. I'm so tired of how people don't think anymore. People just don't think or pay attention. They have no idea what process of anything ever goes into anything, and they just blindly do and react and say because it says so. Oh, it says so in the script. Shove that script. Why do you not have more integrity than this? Why am I one of the few people on the internet still? Where's my writing prop? Sorry, the air conditioner keeps blowing my hair into my face here. Why is it that dealing with these things, am I one of the few people who still has the integrity, be it with this or Star Trek or any of these things, to call out the BS still when I see it? Star Trek's not better now. Any better now than when it started with this Kurtzman Star Trek. These stupid CGI movies, and nobody's defending these CGI movies at least. At least nobody's defending these hardly, but for crying out loud. I'm tired of hearing, yes, writer's strike, support the writer's strike, support the writer's strike, when these things aren't being written. They're just being recycled in and out of the internet. The first footage of McCarthy's Ursula was revealed in King's iteration of the aquatic villain has been met with criticism by some drag performers. RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14 contestant Carrie Colby responded to a video on Twitter stating, "This is absolutely why we should hire up-and-coming queer artists with a pulse on the present vision for the future more often." I mean, I hate to say it. What do they say? Can't be reached. Why? Why I can't read it? Why can't? It's not letting me. Am I incognito window? No, it doesn't have a link to it. It doesn't have a link to it. Well then, boo. That's ridiculous. Trying to claim it, and that's fine. But when they want to do it, but don't put people down because they're not what they want to be. What does this say? That's absolutely why you should hire up. Responded to the critics in a recent interview. I find that very offensive. Why can't I do as good a job as a queer makeup artist? Somebody should have put their foot down and said enough is enough with this. Somebody in the entertainment industry needs to have some damn integrity and say enough. Enough of these soulless goddamn remakes and reboots already. You know? Yeah, what would it take for like a Kathleen Kennedy to redeem herself? Would Kathleen Kennedy have to say, you know what? I don't support these remakes. I was doing the job they hired me to do, but these are soulless reboots and remakes. When it comes to Star Wars, do you think if somebody said that? Do you think if any of these directors would come out and say that would save face for them at some point? Because that might help them with me a little bit. I don't know. What do you think? But this just makes my head hurt. The idea that they have this soulless, empty cash grab of a thing. I mean, they really didn't do anything with this. This was such a low-budget mess anyway. And why I say low budget, it looked low budget. Reportedly, it cost them $200 million to make this. And now I've heard all these box office numbers. And anywhere from, depending on the source, depending on who you ask. Now, I've heard, and this is just between all of the YouTube channels I've watched in my time on YouTube, in the industry stuff, in watching years and years and years of entertainment news and all that stuff from years and years and years, 20 years of this stuff. They usually spend the same amount of money to market this or more. So if the movie has a reported production budget of $200 million, they probably have another $200 million in billboards. They're printing out cups that cost money, that they usually, or at least they'll sell a license to it or whatever. But they're printing out like the popcorn bins, the cups at the movie theater. They're printing out, they're putting commercials on stuff. They're running these as promoted videos. They're talking to these stupid article writing people. They're sending these people out to the press junkets. They're putting statements out there. They're playing up any interview that they'll, well, not that anyone will have them, but they're out there marketing these movies. They want you to talk about them. Bad publicity is publicity. That's why they do this, because these are going to be the clickbaitiest thing to get you to remember this. And of course you're going to have like, oh, it's the latest Disney thing. Hey, I remember The Little Mermaid. It's the Smash Mouth of movies, isn't it? Right? Because this is a great example. Like, we went and saw the free Smash Mouth concert, right? And like, they know they're a meme band. They know that they're that band where you're like, oh yeah, I know that song of them. And then they show up, they play their song, they rickroll you, and then they go, right? They don't think they're any more than that. They don't sit there and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna play all these new songs, and we're gonna. No, they're playing you their corny ones that just kind of pump up the crowd and get them. Here, we're gonna play our 3 hits and get you out the door. They're not the music geek bands, right? They're this. They're going to give you the greatest hits of the Disney thing. They're going to be like, here's your Disney thing. Here's your brand recognition. Here's your mass consumable consumer product. Enough mindless consumers are just going to go about their business and go to a movie without thinking about it, without overanalyzing it, without caring. They're going to be sitting there texting half the time anyway. They're going to be tuned in. They're going to be out. They're not like us who actually pay attention to it. They're going to be like, what was that? That was fine. I like the Little Mermaid. They did a mermaid movie, Mermaid. I liked the Mermaid when I was a kid, and then I like it now. And they're going to do that, and that's going to be fine. And they're going to take their little snot-nosed little brats to it, and they're going to drop them off, and they're going to have a fine time because their parents are going to be off in the casino gambling. And it's going to be wonderful. It's going to make $1 billion probably, or at least it's going to make enough money to where they're going to keep, because they don't have any, they're not slowing down on any of these. They're not, but to treat them like they aren't empty, soulless things, right? I treat them as, here's this stupid, crappy meme song that I'm going to take and remix and have fun with as a consumable, as a piece of silly putty that I can take and mold and mock and have fun with, and nobody's connected to it, and nobody's feelings get hurt if you say the song sucks, because they know they didn't write it. It's a stupid movie. They're just there for a paycheck. Melissa McCarthy's slurring every word. Oh my gosh, Melissa McCarthy sounds drunker than a skunk in this. And the point is, do we need something to stir this up? Do we need something to shake this up? I think we need something to shake this up. I think that we need a new medium. We need some new entertainment. We need a new thing, because these old things are tiresome, aren't they? It's getting tiring to hear and see and say and do the same thing over and over and over for all eternity. And you know it. I am going back to my live chat. This is an empty thing. Baby, they're arguing the wrong thing. Instead of arguing, should a gay do the makeup, they should have a gay come in and completely change the makeup. Should have they found new inspiration for a sea witch? Should have they made her look more like, I don't know, a real octopus, since they made everything realistic? Should Ariel be more like should Ariel, instead of being Halle Bailey, should have they put Halle Bailey in the thing and then just had the mermaid as the head part and the legs on the bottom, and made it so that, I don't know, that's what they stole. She was a really good dancer. They should have changed it entirely and made it so she was a really good dancer, so you didn't have to hear her go, Disney voice, look at this shit I got here. And we're going back to my live chat. Don't you go anywhere.